Do you guys have any idea how pathetically awful humans are at knowing what's going to make us happy? But we all have this belief about happiness. We believe if I can just keep having good things happen, things I like, yeah, like chocolate cake, a date with a girl, a fun ride on the motorbike, a night out with my mates, and we keep filling up this bucket and we keep throwing good stuff in there, right? The bucket's going to fill up and we're going to be happy. We're going to have a happy, good life. Does that make sense? I mean, you guys get this general idea. I want to have as many happy occasions in my life as possible, then I'll be a happy human being. And this is the problem. This is a very, very dangerous assumption to make. Because why don't we just do cocaine every day? Oh, that makes you feel good. It gets right in there to the pleasure center, doesn't it? Tickles that little bad boy. Yeah, so there's this thing, right? Why don't you do cocaine? Well, yes, okay, cocaine, you know, there's toxicity levels, it's addictive, there's a massive crash afterwards. Yeah, not only that, like you adapt to it, so you have cocaine, and then you want more, and you want more, and you want more, because your brain adapts to that level of oh God, I just can't think of the neurochemicals, but it doesn't matter. Your brain gets used to that level of cocaine. It needs more to get a buzz, and that can be toxic, that can be dangerous, you can get sick, blah, 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 blah. Great, so let's not do cocaine, because it's totally different. That has nothing to do with the other stuff, right? Well, I think it's very similar. I'll explain why. There's actually two types of happiness. When someone asks you, you happy? Have you ever had someone ask you that, and you kind of get a bit confused when they ask you? Have you ever experienced that? If anyone's ever asked you, you're like, am I happy? You actually really have to think about it, don't you? The reason is, we actually experience happy, what we call happy, in two completely different brain regions. We actually experience two completely different types of happiness, and one does not equal the other. They're different. They're triggered by different things, by different experiences and mechanisms, and they're two different types of happiness. Those types, number one is called Hedonia. And Hedonia, who's heard of hedonistic pleasures? So who for a chocolate might like to suggest what an example of a hedonistic pleasure might be? Yes, I mean all these things that we do for an outcome. Chocolate cake, I'm gay for chocolate cake. I go nuts for chocolate cake, and that looks particularly good. It's why I put that image up there. Yeah, chocolate cake is a hedonic pleasure. Women, attractive women, picking up women is an addictive, very addictive thing. It's also hedonistic. Toys, cars, buying things, retail therapy. Hedonia is about a very specific outcome that we want to achieve. And we feel that once we get that outcome, we'll be happy. Has anyone attained something they worked really, really hard and long for? A specific outcome. I'm sure some of you have. I'm sure a number of you have. It could be, look, I'll give you a very, very personal, example. When I first started getting into this dating and pickup stuff, you have this thing where you think, if I could just meet girls, if I could go out and I could, say, meet a girl at a bar and we could go on a date and we'd hook up, if I was capable of that, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. And when I was achieving that, what do you think happened? Yeah, I thought, oh, yeah, that's cool, but man, you know what would make me really happy? When I'm coaching guys, I'll tell you what happens. When I'm coaching men out in a bar, and I say to the guys, what do you want out of tonight? And a guy might come to me and he might say, you know what, Damien, I am so frustrated. I'm frustrated because I'll talk to a girl and every time, seriously, every time, you can almost set your watch by it, after 2 or 3 minutes, she blows me out of the interaction. Like, sorry, got to get back to my friends, whatever. And he'll say, if I can just tonight, what I want to achieve tonight, if I can just be in interactions longer and get past that point, tonight would be productive for me, because in years I haven't been able to get past that point. For whatever reason, I'm doing something wrong. An hour later, he comes back from his third interaction that's gone for 10, 12 minutes, and he says to me, Damien, I'm so frustrated. Why, every time after 10 or 12 minutes, do girls just throw me out of the interaction? We adapt. We adapt just like cocaine. We adapt so ridiculously quickly to new gains. And we're not happy till we get the next new gain. We've heard of it before with money. It's a really common thing. Money doesn't buy happiness, la la la. And then some smart ass says, yes, but if I had money, I'd buy something to cheer myself up. There's this thing. Hedonia tends to look like this. Because whenever we get really excited about something and we work hard for a specific outcome and we get the specific outcome, we're really excited. Do you know when we're most excited, by the way? Who's bought a car before? A number of you. When were you most excited? You might not even be able to answer the question. Just before you step into it. Just before you pick up that car is the most excited you're going to be. That's the height of your happiness. Your happiness is decreasing from the second you get into it. It's one of the ways that hedonistic pleasure works. Our reward system when it comes to hedonistic pleasure works that way. The second we get it, dips back down. It works like this. A little bit like a cocaine addict, perhaps. We're wired this way. Our brains cannot maintain this level of endorphins for too long. Can't maintain the pleasure center up that long and we crash. And that's natural. And we go, oh, I want to find something else to make me happy. We do, then we crash. So I want to find something else to make me happy. We do, and then we crash. It's this ongoing cycle. It's also called, it's well known as called the Hedonic Treadmill. It's called the Hedonic Treadmill, and there's a whole league of psychologists. Psychology used to always be about how to not be broken. And in the last sort of 10, 15 years, a whole group of psychologists have started working on how can we be better. Instead of how can we just fix people who be broken, how can we actually help people be more, be more productive in their lives? And they've coined this term called the hedonic treadmill, which is what most of us do, jumping from one outcome to the next. Jumping from one outcome to the next. At no point in between are we feeling particularly happy. No point in between are we feeling particularly happy. Who is an example of someone who lives their lives this way stereotypically? Remember this man? And, to be fair, he was winning. This is a guy who arguably has a lot of hedonistic pleasure, does he not? Money, cars, women, famous, people recognize him, can do what he wants when he wants and get away with almost murder, okay? But is he happy? Do you think, maybe he is now, but do you think at this period in time he was happy? Yeah, but would you argue most people in this room are probably happier than him? At least at that point. This is the danger. This is the danger that we run, and this is someone who, of course, has abused that system, has gone too far, but that's a perfect example. So if it's not hedonistic pleasure, what's the other type of happy that we have, that we experience in day-to-day life? So the other type of happiness is called eudaimonia. So what is this eudaimonia? Well, it functions in completely different parts of the brain, and it's activated when you're doing something that you're doing for the sake of doing it. Like, I like to surf. I enjoy running, but maybe it's not I enjoy running. Maybe it's I like, who's been on a diet before? One of the worst ways to go on a diet is to say, I want to lose 10 kilos. Believe it or not, that's a very dangerous way to go. Because what do 95% of people do? If they get to the 10 kilos lost, they bounce right back up and end up heavier than before, because you get the drop off at the end. The best way to lose weight is to decide I like the feeling of being healthy. So eudaimonia is a very different act. It's what you feel if you've ever gone through a period in your life where you're being healthy, or you're working towards something, you're doing something that you enjoy doing regularly, or something that makes you feel better in general, not for an outcome. I exercise regularly. I'm not going to play a sport. I'm not going to enter a competition. I do it because I like feeling healthy. Yeah, it's something that you are in the process of doing for the sake of doing it. Me, doing my talks. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. If you look at a group of, and this is a real experiment. This is not something I'm making up. If they do an experiment where they take a bunch of children, and they look at which children in the class spend their lunch times colouring in. So these children are colouring in just because they like to colour in. That's an example of eudaimonic pleasure. They're not doing it to get an outcome. So in this experiment with these children, colouring in, they take these children and they say to these children, hey, we know you like colouring in. How would you like to make $1 a day for colouring in every day at lunch? And they pay them $1 a day to colour in all lunch. How good is that? You get paid to do what you like. The next week, they don't pay them anymore, they just leave them be. Not a single one colours in anymore. And this is the danger. This is the danger, is that we can easily get locked onto the outcome and lose track of the part of what we can do that we love. And this is eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is being the pursuit of stuff you enjoy doing for the sake of doing it. And the curve tends to end up a hell of a lot more like this. We all have up and down days. That's human. Your natural hormones do it to you. Your sleep cycles do it to you. Yes, guys, men have a hormonal cycle as well as women. You might not have known that, but we do. So yeah, you have a good day, down days, but it stays relatively high and it can track in an upward direction if you're living your life in the right way. My idol lives his life that way. Who can recognize this man? Sorry? No, it looks like Mike Myers, doesn't it? You're not crazy if you think that. It's Richard Branson. And the reason that he looks like Michael Myers, doesn't he? Exactly like him. And the reason I pick him is because would anyone argue this guy doesn't have access to hedonistic pleasures? No one would argue that, right? I mean, he has his toys. He has his things that he enjoys doing. But if anyone knows much about Richard Branson and how he started his businesses, and his attitude in his meetings and his attitude to his businesses in general, is it generally about outcome? Or is it generally about this seems like something that's different and fun to do and engaging? Yeah? So he has his hedonistic stuff. He has his toys, he's got his island that he invites his mates to, he's got all those things, and I'm not suggesting that we should all live like monks. But the focus, the way that we lead our life, the way that we, something I'm going to be talking about later, make choices and decisions in our life, play a role in that. Now, I'm not telling anyone in this audience, the guys, I'm not telling you, you shouldn't pursue women, because that's bad and it's going to make you unhappy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what we need to do is change the way that we think about it. Don't change what we do, change the way we think about it. And that's something going to make us enjoy life instead of being frustrated. I'll give you guys an example of a student that I had. And this guy came to me and he already had quite a bit of experience. He had already had some experience. He had a couple of girlfriends. He'd go out and he'd get some numbers now and again. He'd do okay. But he was frustrated because he just couldn't seem to get to the point where there was any consistency for him. He couldn't get to the point where on the whole women would pay attention. He felt like, yeah, he was getting success, but it was really just kind of the girls who were just ready in that moment for the right thing. It wasn't the type of girl he wanted. And he was kind of really frustrated about it. And I said to him in the first session that he had with me, I said, all right, what I want you to do, think about interactions that you have with people in general. Anyone, guys, girls, doesn't really matter. Think about an interaction that you have regularly. And think about some of the best interactions you've had in the last week or two. What were you doing? What was the thing that you were doing that you really enjoyed about it? And he gave me two examples. He said, my best friend and I, last week, he came over for dinner, but we just ended up chilling out and just having this really massive, deep conversation about religion and spirituality. And we just had this really in-depth, and we ended up talking all night about it. It was really awesome. It was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Okay, cool. What was the other example? He said, there's this guy at work, and every time we see each other, we kind of rip into each other and give each other a bit of shit, and give each other. It's like this fun little banter that goes on, and it lightens up my day because it breaks the monotony of all the other crap, and I hate my boss and all that stuff. But I really enjoy that moments when we're doing that. So I said to him, okay, what I want you to do from now on in your interactions, you're not going into your interactions to pick up. You're going to talk to these girls, and your goal is two things you're there to do. You're there to have fun and banter and tease and be playful, just to have fun with it. And you're there, get into a serious conversation, bring up stuff that you really like to, really heady stuff. And he said to me, well, wait up, isn't that bad? I mean, you really shouldn't just walk up to a girl you don't know and start talking about religion and spirituality. And I said, I don't really care. I just want you to focus on the stuff that you really enjoy, naturally, organically doing, for the sake of enjoying it. I didn't have him for the next practical session. I had him for the practical session after that. So I had him 2 weeks later. And I had a chat to him. And straight away, his attitude, his thinking, his feeling about going out and talking to girls was completely different. Something really interesting had happened. He was getting twice as many phone numbers and approaching half as many girls because his interactions were going much longer. What had happened what had happened because of that change? A lot of things had happened. First of all, he was enjoying himself. He wasn't focused on trying to get an outcome. He was focused on doing what he likes doing. He's engaged in talking to women for the sake of doing the things he enjoys doing. But also, more importantly, he wasn't stuck in his head. Guys, I won't ask you to show a hand, but who knows that feeling when you have a girl in your room and you know you're supposed to make a move? You know you're supposed to do something, but it's all really awkward. And she's just chatting to you about whatever, because girls always seem really chilled in that moment. She's like talking to you about whatever. I don't know, like what she was doing that day at work or something about one of her friends. It doesn't really matter. And you're sitting there pretending to listen, but really like, how can I make out with her? How can I make it? Oh, what's going on here? How you guys know that feeling? Yes. And how well does it go when you try to make a move? How awkward is it at that point? Yeah. It's this problem when we're locked in our heads, when we're not there in the moment. It's not very good for approaching and attracting women either. Yeah, and that's why he had this massive change. The next thing I got him to focus on was enjoying the idea of being playful, like seeing how far he could push things in a playful way sexually. See what topics he could breach. See what topics he could get away with in his interactions. To be playful, to be cheeky. See what he could get away with saying. So he did that because he enjoyed it. Because he enjoyed it, every interaction was fun to do. And because he enjoyed it, he didn't go home at night feeling like a failure, feeling like an idiot because he hadn't gotten anywhere with a girl. He went home at night feeling good because he had a fun night. He got to do stuff he enjoyed doing. He was focused on the eudaimonic part of approaching and talking to women. And when you are engaged, when you love what you're doing, people here can usually tell, I like what I'm doing up here. People like being around that. People like being around people who are doing what they enjoy doing. You are then more attractive to women. You live your life this way, you're instantly more attractive, not just to women, but to everyone.
Hey guys, do you get frustrated approaching women and then getting rejected? I'd like to invite you to my free 12 video training series where I'm going to show you how to make such an amazing first impression before you even say a word that rejection will soon become a thing of the past. See that button down there? Don't procrastinate anymore. Go ahead and click on it, and I look forward to working with you.